Today we're going to be talking about why you don't need more products. This is a really fun call to do, and this is also kind of piggybacking on our live call series that starts today. If you've got time after, if you're wanting to hang around after, we've got a live call that starts right on the hour after this. And that call is what your esthetician would tell you if she wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings. And man, is your esthetician excited to talk about all those things. But this call is we're just focusing on why you don't need more products. And this is one of my favorite things to dive into or to kind of lead discussions on because I host group consultations, I host one-on-one consultations, and a lot of times, especially in the one-on-one consultations, I am working with people who have purchased a lot of product. I mean, sometimes they'll own almost everything that we've ever launched. Which is lovely and gives them lots of options, but it isn't necessarily the the best use of their funds. So we wanted to take some time today and dive into why you don't need more products. You just need the right products. Um, Without too much further ado, I do want to introduce myself. And I'd love to see in the chat, is this anyone's first time hopping on a live call? Please share with us if it is, because I do want to welcome you especially. But my name is Kate, and I'm a licensed esthetician. And with Anne Marie Skincare, I've been part of this crew for going on 8 years actually. And so I get really excited talking about all things skin and then marrying that topic with all things product, like all things Anne Marie Skincare, because we've got so many options here. I have with me Grace. And Grace, if you want to come in and just introduce who you are and then maybe tell us what our promo is today, that'd be cool.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Grace. I'm the email marketing lead here at Emory. So if you get any emails, they're most likely from me and all my personal experiences.
Mm.
It's so nice to see your guys' face. Let me put the promo in the chat right now, but it's very exciting. Today we are offering 30% off the restorative facial and neck cream. Kate will get into that more here in a little bit, but with the code ASC Better Skin. This code is only available to those on the call today. Yay. And the code is alive until 3 p.m. Pacific time. So you have about a couple hours to shop, which is lovely. But I do want to note that the code is not applicable towards subscriptions. And if you are watching this live at a later date, it is also not applicable then. So sorry about that, but you should join live during the actual time. But I think that's about it. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat, and I am more than happy to help.
Hey, thank you. So just to reiterate, we are going to be talking about the restorative face and neck cream a little bit, and that one's so unique and so cool and is really applicable in this topic that we're diving into. But that one, we are offering 30% off on the restorative facial cream. And Grace is the coupon code in the chat. It does expire at 3 o'clock Pacific. So, wherever you're at, you might need to do some time zone math. But yeah, she's got that info in there. So let's talk about, your routines and stuff. Okay. So where it gets a little wavy, where people I think invest in more and more and more, is they can kind of get confused about what a basic routine typically looks like. With Anne Marie Skincare, in most cases, we're recommending a cleanser, a toner, a serum, and a moisturizer. Cleanser, toner, serum, moisturizer. Now, sometimes people will have multiple serums. Sometimes people will have multiple moisturizers. There can be, you can branch out, and there are times and places where that might be important. But when we're wanting to kind of just have like a very simple routine, a routine that's ready to make changes in the skin, these four products are typically what we're sticking with. The reason we wanted to talk about the restorative face and neck cream is because the restorative face and neck cream can kind of hold the place of both the serum and the moisturizer. And let me break that down to help that make sense. I will also add, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and then we can just kind of get to them in real time as we're going along here. When we're recommending our steps, right, we've got our cleanser. Most people understand what the cleanser's for. We are kind of cleaning off the day. We're prepping the skin for products to come. We have our toning mist, and our toning mist is providing this burst of hydration and then this burst of very specialized nutrition. So depending on which toning mist you go with, it's going to kind of work with the skin in different ways, but all of the toning mists are also priming the skin for the serums. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and this is where I think it can get confusing for some people. Serums, generally speaking, this is true for Anne Marie Skincare. This is also true just conceptually. Serums tend to be very thin and very aqueous. Because of this, they are designed to absorb a little bit deeper into the skin. So when we are choosing a serum, when we are applying a serum, what we want to be thinking about are some of the changes we really want to elicit in the skin. Our serum selection varies. So we've got everything from, a kind of broadly applicable anti-aging serum to a more specialized probiotic serum. This is going to be great for reaction-prone skin, to even like our retinol alternative, the activated night serum. All of these, though, have a thinner body to them than a moisturizer. So most people are using both. They've got this aqueous serum, and then they've got the moisturizer that varies in, the most significant way is that our moisturizers have some form of fat. So you can kind of think of it like your serums are working with the lower layers. This is a great place to think about dark spots, drooping or sagging. Yeah, dark spots is a big one. A deeper creasing, we're using stem cells to support things like that. These are getting in lower in the skin, and we want them to be lower in the skin. But serums typically don't have enough moisture on their own to be providing support for your barrier, the barrier of the skin. And this is where moisturizers come in. So we have two forms. We've got our oils. We've got a beautiful array of oils. Also, just a little plug for any of those who are big fans of The Divine Woman. You are going to see this coming back in the next handful of weeks. But the oils have a rich, fatty body to them. And some might be richer, right? Some might be very, very dense, like the anti-aging. Some might be a little bit lighter, like our herbal facial oil for normal skin. But we are generally using both. Now, where the cream comes in, right, this is the restorative facial cream, is that the consistency of this and the composition of this actually includes a little bit of both. So we've got some aqueous ingredients in here. We have helichrysum, we have aloe vera juice, we have, what else goes into this guy? The helichrysum is quite important for getting lower into the skin. Some stem cells are deeply supported getting lower into the skin. And then we have these rich butters. We've got murumuru, we've got a little bit of shea butter. So the consistency of this, and I'll show this here, captures a little bit of both. So when I'm working with folks who are really, they either really prefer to do a very simple routine or they're just overwhelmed with the mass amount of products that they have, we might, at least for a while, simplify it a little bit and cleanse, tone, and use just the restorative facial cream. And you can see this absorbs really, really nicely. Now, couple benefits to doing just the restorative facial cream. The restorative facial cream is incredibly anti-aging. Everything that's in this product, it's really kind of a miracle, honestly. Every ingredient on the list, even our coconut filtrate. With the coconut filtrate is what we use to kind of suspend some of these ingredients. They keep everything playing nicely together. Is a support for sustaining strong, lifted, taut skin. So this is where this gets to be really supportive for the neck as well, right? We don't have an additional product, at least at this point, that is a neck product. This product gets to do a little bit of both. We're moisturizing the face, we're providing this tightening experience on the neck as well. Now, a couple potential, maybe drawbacks or downsides. The restorative facial cream does not have active brighteners in it. So if what you're working on is fading dark spots, if you've got some sun damage or other forms of dark spots on the face, you're probably still going to really benefit from using a serum and using a serum regularly. Likewise, if you are very, very dry, so you're the kind of person that is just constantly seeking ways to add moisture to your routine, you'll probably still want to use your serum to provide that bolstered support for the hydration of the skin. But as far as like, really kind of trimming things down when you feel like you're overwhelmed, the restorative facial cream does a really good job of kind of helping to just keep it very simple for a while. The restorative facial cream is also great for almost all skin types, including sensitive, including very dry. Oily, it can kind of depend on how oily, do you get oily at different seasons, things like that. But the restorative facial cream does well with a lot of skin types. Now, I see a couple questions have come through. So let me come up and scroll up and see what we've got here. So Melissa has asked, do you have to let the toner dry before applying your serum? No, you very much don't. It is an option. So I always like to share when you're using your toner, you can explore both. And if you don't have a toner, hey, let's talk about those for a minute. Toners are a step that I think often get left out, especially when people aren't really understanding, what they're doing or they're feeling overwhelmed with their routine in other ways. But the toning mist is a pretty significant game changer for how everything absorbs in the skin. This is the Rose Hydrosol, and our Rose Hydrosol is one of my absolute favorite toning mists. You take your toner and you are going to mist your skin. That was 50% just because I wanted to smell that right now. The other 50 was to show it off, but we missed the skin. And then I like to, while my skin is still dampened, apply my serum and my moisturizer, and let everything kind of absorb into the skin together. First of all, it's faster, right? So I know, we are modern humans. We've got things to do. Standing there and waiting for the toning mist takes time, letting it dry. But the other thing is when I apply those back to back, it helps to pull everything into the skin. This is my favorite tip if I'm working with anybody who is experiencing the skin feeling dry, even if they're using the most moisturizing serum, something like the hemp serum, and the most moisturizing combination. So maybe you've got the restorative facial cream and you're mixing it with the anti-aging facial oil, like you're just going above and beyond as far as putting moisture into the skin, but sometimes that combination is still not quite enough. When you leave the skin dampened, it can really change how everything absorbs. And it's true that it changes how it absorbs. I work with customers, from time to time who actually prefer the feel of letting the toner dry before applying the serum and then applying their moisturizer. So all of this is to say that it's really up to you. You have both options. So you can either let it stay dampened and apply everything in one go. You can let things dry in between. Usually my preference for myself is to apply everything while it's damp. So if you haven't tried that, do it, yeah, it's a significant feeling difference and it feels quite good. So great question, Melissa. Let's see. Judith likes to mist during the day. She will dust other air pollutants on the face at that time. I think the question here is if you're misting during the day, will other things that are on the skin penetrate into the skin? Not necessarily, especially if you're misting over your moisturizer, because with the weight of the products, usually the moisturizer or your sunscreen is going to be the richest, and so pulling things like dust or pollutants into the skin um, it's pretty unlikely. Also, dust and, depending on the pollutants, most of those are large enough that the molecule size is not actually going to get into the skin. Now, they can prevent other things from absorbing, which is part of why we wash them off at the end of the day. They can be sitting on the skin and be creating a little bit of a barrier. I wouldn't apply a full like serum moisturizer layer if you haven't actually washed your face. But having your toning mist and using that throughout the day is super common. A lot of folks will use the rosemary toning mist. This is one that I think for me, it's probably a 50-50 split with the folks who I work with, that this is their go-to toning mist. Like this is what they use in their routine. And then the other 50% use this as kind of like an oil control. So even if they're on the dry side, if they get shiny, they'll keep the rosemary toning mist in their bag. and then mist the skin because there's rosemary, neem, there's white willow bark. It can help to absorb excess oil. So if you get shiny, it's a nice alternative to doing like a blotting powder or a blotting paper. It's not messing up makeup. It's not affecting sunscreen. You can just mist it over and it helps to control some of that shine. So this is a common one that gets applied over the day. But yeah, I wouldn't do more than the toning mist if you're doing your serums and moisturizers. I would do a full cleanse. So. Janice used the restorative cream last night for the first time. Yeah, it is wonderful. It is a really unique product. I feel like for a long time with our moisturizers, if you're new to Amory skincare, we have only had the facial oils for, 16, 15 years of the business. And then we launched the facial cream last year. And so it was an adjustment, and I didn't think I was going to like it as well. But the ceramide and peptide composition in the restorative facial cream leaves the skin so supple, like very, very touchably soft. The finish is a little bit different. I'm used to oil. I generally still use oil, but the finish of the cream is a little bit flatter. So my initial worry when we first launched it was like, okay, it's not going to be enough moisture for skin like mine, which is on the dry side, which is not the case at all. It's just not quite as like dewy, oily, reflective as oils are. So love that, Janice. That's awesome. These are great questions here. And if you're hopping on, if you've just joined, we are talking about, well, you don't need more products necessarily. We're talking about kind of prioritizing the best products for your skin, one of which for a lot of people is our restorative facial cream. And one of the things we've been talking about with this one has some of the qualities of both a serum and an oil. So you're able to get away without using a serum unless you are wanting to see specific changes. So things like creasing, things like dark spots, you're going to go that much faster using a serum. But if you want to keep it very simple, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like you've got a lot going on with your routine, the restorative facial cream is awesome. And we do have 30% off the restorative facial cream, which is a pretty significant discount for a product like this, happening until 3 o'clock today. So okay, let me get into these here. So Dina, after last week's call when I suggested adding the serum and moisturizer while toner is damp, she's been doing that. Oh, and it's changed the way it's absorbed. Yay! Yeah, awesome. Love, love, love that testament. Um, it is one of the most significant tips that I have in my pocket to offer when folks are feeling like they are looking oily and feeling dry, or that products are absorbing in this kind of uneven way. So they've got some things that maybe are absorbing, in certain patches, or areas are looking really shiny, but other areas are really dry. Misting the skin and then applying the products while the skin is damp changes it. It just changes it. So I love that. Thank you, Dina. Okay, cool. Grace has shared the coupon code again. So ASC Better Skin, that's for 30% off the face and neck cream. And yes, Margaret, that is the promo that we've got going on today. So it does not apply towards subscriptions, but if you have a subscription for that, you can always push it out and do a one-time order for the restorative face and neck cream. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, yes, Judith. Michelle, so if I seem to have sensitive skin and get red blemishes on my cheeks with some Anne-Marie skincare products, can I still continue using them, or what regimen do you suggest? Okay, so this can be a little bit exploratory. So if you're using something that you introduced it and pretty quickly your body, you experienced a reaction, maybe red blemishes, um, sometimes that can be with a new product, your body reacting to either a new formulation of antioxidants or the high level of antioxidants that we have in our products. Since there's so much that's like fresh and alive in the products, the antioxidant composition can kind of be shocking, especially to certain skin types. What those reactions typically look like is they will often be where the skin is thin, so sides of the nose. Sometimes it can be on the tops of the cheeks or the sides of the mouth. And it typically will look like raised. It might be a little bit red. It might be a little bit uncomfortable. Sometimes they look like small whiteheads, but not a full blemish. Those types of breakouts typically will fade within the first week or two, maybe 10 days. If you're experiencing it longer than that, or it's starting to show up with a product that you've already been using for a while, then what it might look like is taking a break from that particular product. And sometimes this can turn into like a little bit of a game of, take something out, see how the skin does, reintroduce. Maybe you're taking a couple things out, see how the skin does, and then reintroduce. We haven't had any formula changes lately. I'm looking at all the products. I think the Kaolin microexfoliant was the one that had the most recent formula exchange or formula evolution, and that was a pretty subtle one. But those can always be things that could trigger something. Maybe formerly we were getting what calendula, and the way, the soil with that calendula was great with your skin, but then the new provider, there's something in it or the way it grows that doesn't work with your skin. But there haven't been formula changes, like I said, other than the what is that called? The kaolin microexfoliant for quite a while. So that wouldn't necessarily be something that I was super concerned with. It also is possible, and it does happen, that with time, is sometimes you can just develop a sensitivity or an allergy to something. And this can be exacerbated if you're also experiencing sensitivities or reactions to consumables. A big one is gluten. And I won't spend too long on that because we've got 7 minutes here. But if you're, going through a season where you're developing or noticing that certain forms of gluten, especially like, yeah, just plain white flour, is a trigger for your body. You can also kind of see this reflected in the skin. So it can be a layered experience, but to simplify, maybe start with one of the most recent additions if it's been something that you've added, cut gluten years ago. Okay. Yeah, dairy, seed oils. Yeah, and maybe you're already doing a super clean thing. Maybe you're not experiencing any other kind of physiological symptoms, that it's just the skincare. So I would start with, if you've added something within the last 4 months, something that is new, take that one out. And if you've used something, let's say it's a toning mist, if you've used something formerly, like the Neroli, maybe you just pop that one back in, you had no issues with it. And do that for, five to 10 days and see if that doesn't change the skin. And it can kind of look like that for a minute. So maybe it'll be, something like the anti-aging serum. You might take that one out, and maybe you're just not using a serum for a minute. It's passable. The moisturizer is harder to get away without using, but maybe you're taking that one out and then seeing if the redness doesn't fade, the reaction doesn't fade, something like that. So that's the best I've got in the time that we've got here. Um, Brendan, you have dry, rough spots on your face. What would help the most? Ooh, well, it could be a couple things. Probably a toning mist, probably a solid moisturizer, something like the restorative facial cream. You might also like the coconut honey mask. This is a really, really, really rich mask. It's based, the anchor ingredients are coconut oil and honey. So for really rough, patchy areas, it can both provide a dense amount of moisture, and honey is slightly enzymatic, so that can help to kind of slough off and like gobble up some of the flakiness that's showing up. But try for you misting the skin and leaving the skin dampened as you apply something like the restorative facial cream, and see if that doesn't help with those particular concerns. Janice, yes. So this has been a common piece of feedback with this. So to keep it short, we've got 4 minutes. How does that happen? To keep it short, the restorative facial cream, we launched that as a kind of like distinct alternative to the oil. And a big piece of feedback that we had gotten was like the oils can be really rich under the Sunlove. Sunlove itself is this really beautiful emollient product. And so this has been a product that increases in popularity a lot over the summer. When the skin's already nice and dewy, when you've already got a nice amount of suppleness to it, the restorative facial cream replacing the oil can just expedite the process. Your routine can be that much faster, and the way it wears under the Sunlove is really, really nice. So That is good. You've had some, Janice has had some pilling with the layering of products. Think when you use the eye product. Janice, are you using a toning mist? Because that can also be something that the toning mist helps. Okay, so already doing that. You might try in the palm of your hand mixing the serum and the oil before you apply it. And the eye product, so if you're using the wild, or what's that one called? The fruit ceramide eye serum, this guy, this one, put it on right after you tone. This one, the texture of this one, if it goes over anything too heavy, and sometimes even something like the serums can be a little bit heavy for it, this will pill up. So mist the skin, do the fruit ceramide eye serum, mix the wild fruit serum and the oil in the palm of your hand, apply it over the top of that. I bet that fixes that for you. Pam, can you use the restorative facial oil over the restorative or the rejuvenating facial oil over the facial cream? You can. Yeah, so that is the routine I would do. I would do the cream first and I would do the oil over the top. When I wear the two of them together, I often mix them in my hand. So that's another thing you could try is mixing those together, and that's a great way to go. So give that a shot. Now we're coming up on time here. This 30-minute calls go super fast. We do have a call that's starting here in the next 2 minutes. That is another live call. This is part of a live series called Hot Topics. The next call that's starting is things your esthetician would tell you if she wasn't afraid of hurting your feelings. And spoiler, I am the esthetician and I do have some things to say. So would love to see you on that call if you've got the time, but I know that, everybody's busy. It'll probably be a call that ends up on YouTube in some time. So if you can't make this one, maybe you'll make the next one. And then just a final note, we've got the 30% off on the restorative face and neck cream. So great, great time to kind of stock up on that guy. That code is ASC Better Skin. And it does expire at 3 o'clock today, 3 o'clock Pacific. And if you're watching this at a later date, that code is no longer available. Join us for another call. But that's when that one's going to shut off. So we're going to close it out here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the Zoom link, Grace just shared the Zoom link. And I think you should just be able to click it and it'll take you into the waiting room for that call. Um, and basically we'll close this one out and then hop into that one. So maybe there'll be a minute or two in between time. But yeah, join us on the next call. I'm excited for this one and we'll spend some time on that one there. So I think we're complete here. If your questions didn't get answered, find us in a consult. We'd love to get into some more specific ways to build routines for you. And we can go from there. So thank you. Thanks everybody. Love doing these calls with you. These ones are super fast. And hopefully see you guys